Hi, my name is Becky Jennings, and this is the Responsible Parenting Podcast. I give you the transformational tools to stop reacting to your children in the moment and start responding with intention. Do you find yourself locked in a daily power struggle with your child? Do you fall back into old patterns like yelling or threatening just to stop the annoying behavior? Are you desperate to learn how to connect with your kids, set boundaries, heck, gain some cooperation? If this is you, you need to check out my community. Inside my community, you'll have access to my signature strong-willed language course, where you learn how to regulate yourself, understand and speak your strong-willed kids' language to virtually eliminate the constant power struggles. You'll have access to my workshop library, giving you step-by-step strategies for sibling rivalry, listening, anger and aggression, emotional regulation, and more. You'll have weekly Q&A opportunities to get personalized answers on challenging situations. You'll get specific strategies for you based on exactly what's going on in your home. No umbrella strategy, no umbrella script, no bots. You'll get a personalized roadmap to support you. Plus, you'll get dozens of bite-sized lessons to regroup, stay on track, and stay motivated. It is time to stop walking on eggshells around your children and finally experience the release you are looking for. Join the community today and let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Responsible Parenting. I am your host, Becky Jennings, and today we are going to be talking about empathy. What is it? Why is it important? Is it important in parenting? Is it important in life? And is it something that is a sign of weakness? Now, I don't know if that has even been on a thought in your brain. I don't know if that's been a thought in many people's brains, but it definitely was highlighted in the news recently when Elon Musk said that the fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy. Now, I want to talk about that because I find that to be so sad. Because empathy is our ability to see somebody, to see what is happening in their life and feel what they might be going through. Empathy gives us perspective. Empathy gives us a chance to really truly see someone in their time of need. Empathy gives us an opportunity to understand, right? And honestly, what are we in this world if we are not trying to see our neighbors? If we are not trying to understand the conflict in front of us? If we constantly think that it is us, we are right, it is our ideas that are superior, it is our rules that are more important, it is our ideas that are better than our children's, then honestly, what are we even doing here? I honestly think that one of the strongest qualities in a human is to be able to slow themselves down long enough that they are able to witness what is happening in front of them, witness another person's experience. And as opposed to leading with judgment, as opposed to leading with fear, as opposed to leading with criticism and harsh language and more belittling statements and shame, to sit there instead, look at the person who is going through something really hard, really painful, maybe experiencing something new, experiencing a trauma, a tragedy, a heartbreak. And instead of trying to just fix it so that we're no longer uncomfortable, or we can just move on because this is so annoying, that we're able to be with that person and we're able to offer compassion. We're able to lead with curiosity, and we're trying to seek to understand them before we are trying to be understood ourselves. You see, I think empathy is actually one of the greatest strengths in humanity, certainly not its weakness. It is amazing to me how we are able to demonize empathy, because I'm sure if Elon Musk is going through something and he is having a terrible experience, maybe losing 50% of his stock value, right? He might want somebody to understand what he's going through. He might want somebody to say, that's really hard. I imagine what you're going through is pretty scary. I imagine what you're going through is really frustrating. I imagine what you're going through you weren't expecting, and now you have to learn and figure something out. I'm sure that's hard. To be able to lead with empathy versus judgment is a monumental skill. It's a huge effort, many of which we weren't raised with empathy. Many of us were raised to get back on the bike, right? It wasn't that bad, right? Which is the opposite of empathy, telling us that it wasn't that bad, telling us our experience wasn't real to us. Oh, it wasn't that bad. Just get back up on the horse, get back up on the bike. You have to try again, as opposed to taking a few moments in time to acknowledge what could be going on for the child, for the person in front of us. Instead of saying, oh, there's no blood. Okay, go ahead. Go back. You can play. There's no blood. No big deal. Instead saying, wow, I saw that you fell off your bike. And even though you're not injured that we can see, I'm sure it was really scary falling down because you didn't know if you were going to get really hurt. Right? Just even that. Acknowledging that there was probably some fear as the child was falling down. As the child was flying through the air on their bike, heading towards the cement, that's a scary moment in anyone's life. But to dismiss it and say, you're not bleeding, so what you might be feeling isn't really that valid, right? To invalidate somebody's experience is the opposite of empathy. And I think that is a sign of weakness. When we invalidate somebody's experience because we don't want to deal with all that messiness. We don't want to deal with maybe a longer meltdown. We don't want to deal with feelings of it. That's weak, period. Because we're so afraid of how long it's going to take. We're so afraid of maybe not being able to fix it in the moment that we'd rather gloss over it, minimize it, than sit in it with them. This happens in every relationship, not just parent-child dynamic. This happens in spousal relationships too. This happens in friendships. This happens in work environments and political arenas. It's something that when we are too afraid to unpack what's going on, maybe too afraid to see our responsibility in the moment, how we contributed to the event, then it's easier to minimize, to criticize, to judge, to shame, to dismiss, to belittle. That's very protective for us, right? It keeps the situation at arm's length. Whereas if we sit in the moment, we are exposed to a more vulnerable moment. We're exposed to maybe feeling uncomfortable ourselves. But the only way to create true bonds and deep understanding is when we take the time to sit with the uncomfortable feelings, to be with the really hard moments, to be with the feelings that cause discomfort. Because that's where all the learning is. That's where all the data and all the information about the other person is. That's where we get to learn so much about our children, about what's going on for them. That's where we get to help them, support them. We don't have to fix anything. Empathy isn't a tool to fix at all. Empathy is the opposite of fixing. It's seeing, it's witnessing, and it's just being there for the person. I remember when my oldest son now, he was probably 5 at the time. He was trying to ride a bike and it was not going great, right? And he kept falling over and kept falling over, and we kept trying to fix it. We kept trying to give him a new skill. We got critical there when we were getting really frustrated. It was just not the best experience. I'll say that. Teaching my younger kid to bike was much easier. Teaching my older, not great. So we decided to go on a bike path, on this kind of like abandoned bike path. And there was one person way down the road. And my son tried to wave at the person. I think he was feeling very confident. He was feeling very excited. He picked up his hands off the handlebars and he waved, and the handlebars turned completely and he flew off the bike, like both arms and legs flying off, and he landed almost like a frog, both knees on the ground, both hands kind of scuffed up. And we immediately stopped and we immediately compassionately tried to get him back on the bike. Oh my gosh, like, are you okay? Okay, you're not bleeding. Do you want to ride on my bike? Do you want to try again? Like all these questions. And he just kept digging further and further and further into his meltdown. And finally, I realized, oh my gosh, we're not leading with empathy whatsoever. We're being compassionate, we're being kind, we're trying to help him, but we're not leading with empathy. And so I sat down on the ground for a second and I said, wow, that must have been very scary. And he looked at me like, thank God this woman's finally getting it. But he looked at me and he goes, yeah, Mom, I'm really scared. I said, yeah, because the handlebars turned and you must not have been expecting that. I know I wouldn't have expected that. You flew off the handlebars and you landed on the cement. I'm sure that felt awful. And he looks at me like, yeah, it did. I just said, yeah, oh, buddy, I'm sorry. And he got back up and he said, thank you. It's okay. I'm going to bike home. And we had tried so hard to encourage him. And there was no blood. So we were kind of pointing that out as like a win and, all of these things. But it was when I led with empathy, when I slowed down and stopped trying to correct the moment and stopped trying to move through the moment so he didn't feel more pain or trying to minimize it to show him, see, it's not that bad. You're not bleeding. Instead, I just acknowledged like, wow, that must have been really hard and scary. And whew, this is tough. And in that acknowledgement, he felt so seen and understood that he was able to self-motivate to get back on the bike. It was just the mere seeing him, the mere witnessing the event, as opposed to me telling him my perspective of the event or how he should be feeling in the event. Instead, he was able to do it himself because I saw him for the first time in that moment. I understood what he was going through for the first time in that moment. And that was all it took. When dealing with frustrating behavior, yelling can quickly become our default way of handling things. But since you're listening to this podcast, I know you're looking for a better way. That's why I created my free guide to help you get out of the yelling cycle. This 6-part free guide gives you the foundational information to start breaking the toxic yelling cycle. Click the link in my show notes to get your free guide today. This might be the hardest cycle to break as parents, but I have your back, and together we can change the way we respond. And so I do not believe in any way, shape, or form that empathy is weakness. In fact, I think we all need to be showing a lot more empathy to each other, really seeing each other in our own individual experiences that we're having, being able to feel safe enough to share our experiences without feeling that we're going to get judged or just dismissed, or somebody's just going to try to move through it as fast as possible so it doesn't take up that much time in their day to just listen to how we're feeling. Our feelings run the show. Our feelings are the driver of all of our behaviors. And if we're running around with unmet, unlistened to feelings, right? No one's listening to us, which is going to drive negative behavior. We're going to end up in more conflict and nobody's out there listening and seeing each other. And we're just trying to criticize or fix or blame or move on. What if instead we avoided all of that chaos and drama and we were able to bond, be closer to each other, more supportive, simply by witnessing, simply by understanding or seeking to understand? Instead of being defensive in a moment, instead of saying, that's not how it went. What are you talking about? That's not what it was. Instead of saying, oh, I did not see it from that perspective. That wasn't my experience, but I'm willing to listen to yours. Imagine what a world we'd be living in if we were open to listening to each other. And that starts at home. It starts at home in these micro moments where we slow down, we stop trying to correct, and we start trying to listen to our children. We start trying to hear what their experience is, because even though they're smaller, even though they're tiny, even though they don't have the same volume of lived experience that we do, their experience for them is so real. And it's not less real than ours, right? We all come to the table as parents from very real experiences that happened to us as children. Maybe we've suppressed it. Maybe we don't want to talk about it. Maybe we are still deeply in the throes of that pain. And so we are very protective of our heart and our feelings, and we don't want to be triggered in that same way. So let's not pass that pattern on to our own children so that they're in their middle age, they're in their parenthood, trying to untangle, trying to figure out why they react the way they react. We can nip a lot of that in the bud by showing empathy in the moment, by seeking to understand the experience our child is going through before we think we have an understanding of it. Let us drop that armor, that self-protection in the moment, the annoyance, the frustration. Oh my God, how long is this one going to take? I assure you it'll take longer the more we resist empathy. So is empathy weakness? Absolutely not. It is actually the core strength of humanity. And the more we can lean into empathy, the more in our households we can start to shift how our children show up in this world. We shift how we show up in this world, not just to our children, but to everybody we encounter throughout the day. And I truly believe that if we can start this and really lean in and commit to this, we are going to see a shift. Maybe a coming back to kindness and humanity, because right now, woof, it is ugly out there. Let's not bring that into our homes. Let's not put that on our children. They're too precious. They're too little. They don't deserve that. So, no, it is not the fundamental weakness of Western society. That's just crap. It is the fundamental strength of humanity. So I leave you with that. Thank you for joining me for another week, and I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Responsible Parenting Podcast. If you like what you heard, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. If you know someone who would benefit from this podcast, I'd be honored if you'd share this episode with them. Until next time, know that you are enough, you are capable, you've made it through all of your hardest days, and we will keep growing on this parenting journey together. This podcast was produced by Kim Kelty and myself, Becky Jennings, and edited by the Kelty Method, Branding and Podcasting.